Hello there, it's me, Jarius, and I've been studying my favorite artist, Souchiro Yamamoto, and I love his art style. His art is my literal dream art style, so we'll be studying him for today. So for this one, we have Urushi from Ayumu as our first go, and I wanted to keep this style studies simple and straightforward. Didn't want to div it towards too original because, after all, I'm here to draw like him, So we're gonna be doing just that. And so, when I'm thinking about these, my thought process was to think about, firstly, getting the brush right for his line art, because his line art is crisp and no anti-aliasing. That's like the first thing I noticed right off the bat with his line art. And again, to say it's line art wouldn't be entirely accurate because it has a sketchy feel to it, which is great for me because I actually hate line art, to be honest with you. It feels so constricting and limiting for me because I'm so fixated on getting it perfect. That's what line art for me is like when I get to do it. But with Souchiro Yamamoto's style, it's sketchy and yet it still looks great. So that is what I'm trying to emulate with this study. I'm trying to consciously keep it to where it's not too messy, but it's not constricted either, because his style is very loose and it's still like clean. So that is where intention is met. And then as I'm doing the coloring here, laying out the base colors, again I had to look for other brushes to fill in the gaps and such with the base. There's this brush I came in particular that was suitable for just that. I don't have to get all fixated on the little details of it, and mapping in the colors. So the brush I found does just that, which is wonderful, because doing colors can get pretty tedious. Aside from all that, the colors that he uses in his art is very straightforward, and it's not so much of like a complicated art style, and yet it still is great, and at times it's still beautiful. It has that watercolor feel to it, but also isn't too messy or like blurry in a sense. I'm not too sure how to completely explain it, but as these studies have been kept going, I've been getting better in understanding his style. Like, you've done pretty good with this first one right off the bat, so I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. And this style study for Urushi turned out pretty great, so I'm pretty happy with it. The colors, I kept it pretty simple. Again, I just studied an anime scene from this from the show, but other than that, it was pretty good. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. And that we'll go on to the next one. So now we'll be diving into studying the manga panels. And this is where it now gets a little more interesting because it calls for more creativity to the colors, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But for now, what I want to touch on is the line art and the actual style of his eyes and such. So there is a uniqueness to it that I'm having to adjust with my mappings for how I draw the facial features and so on, because my way of drawing facial features is based off of Michael Hampton's method of going about it. And if you already know him, then you would most likely know that his methods of going about it are on the realistic side of things. And so now I'm having to adjust it and tweak it a little bit so that it can match on to the actual face and so on. So yeah, it still works, and it's really nice to see that, because obviously anime and realism are two different mediums, but anime still is simplification of realism. So there's the fun thing there. Going on a bit about the eyes, I wanted to keep it simple and just have it black like the manga here, and it just makes it so that, you know, we can have less to focus on, because again, with Rin here, I wanted to focus on, again, the line art and getting it right, as well as now having to get a little bit more creative, because of course this is a manga panel and not like an artwork of his, you know. So this is where I'm challenging myself to kind of walk on my own feet here, in a sense, because his art is very great, and now it's time to interpret it in a way that makes sense to me, but still is, you know, loosely based off and influenced by his art. And so here is where I wanted to get a more distinct concept for drawing the hair, because his art and how he draws the hair is very crisp and beautiful to me. It's like what stands out to me the most in his art, and that's what is like, you know, I want to get a great feel for it. When it comes to rendering the skin, that's where it comes a little more digestible to it, as well as just the rendering the, you know, the clothes and so on. But the hair is like his signature feel in his art, at least to me. So I wanted to better understand it for myself with this study, and we've done just that. So yeah, I'm really happy with this second study. With that, I think we can go on to our third and final study. So yes. So of course, we gotta save best girl for last, Takagi-san. Now, with this third study, our final study, I noticed that I've been more loose and freeform with the how to go about it, and I do want to make a point that I actually did all three of these in one day, and as crazy as it is to believe, the last two, they took like 3 hours and 30 minutes, but as I saw the recording time for this one, it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, and that may not sound like a big time gap. But to me, that's like very comforting to see that. And it's like I'm getting a better understanding of his style and more tune with it, and so a thing with these style study is that, like, I'm not here to particularly draw it word for word in a sense, because of course, as I finished this and look back on it, it doesn't exactly look like it, of course, but it's like that's not really the point here. The point here with these for me is like, how can I interpret this in a way that I can understand and learn about it, and even with the face, like, again, I'm adjusting my way of drawing the faces to his style of drawing the faces, which are the big, and the eyes are closer to the nose and so on, and so it's all about being adaptable. And so that is just what I'm doing right here, and I'm trying to teach myself to not be so constricted with getting the line art perfect, and just making the mistakes work for my favor, because that's another part of his style. He makes his mistakes work in his favor, and each line is not a perfect line. It's not like a line art. It's sketchy, but it's not too sketchy to where it's messy. It looks cohesive, and there's a harmony with it. And so that is where I want to emulate that same harmony, and even beyond his line art, just his painting style in general. It's deceptively easy, but it's actually pretty difficult, and it's honestly like so versatile in his style, and that's where it gets difficult, because it's like in his art it feels like there is a harmony, and he understands that harmony, and what I want to do is emulate that same harmony in my own art style, so that I can take what his art style and then just add my own twist to it and make it something like my own, that is inspired from his art style but has my own twist on it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed doing these 3 studies, and I hope you've enjoyed watching them and seeing the results. But with all that being said, that is going to take us to the end. So yeah, thank you for watching and being here for this art. And with all that being said, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.